What's going on, guys? This is Moonchild, a dude no way, and today I'm going to show you how to get better at PvP. The Destiny 2 sandbox and meta at large are more complicated than ever, so in this video I'm going to break down some actionable tips that'll help you win more games. No matter what caliber of player you are, if you focus up on the information I'm about to give, over time you will see an improvement. There are a ton of lists like this out there, so with that in mind, I did my best to pick things you probably haven't heard before. The techniques I'm going to talk about will train your muscle memory to do what you need it to. It won't happen overnight, but you can start improving right now by implementing my first tip: pick a loadout and stick with it. This is one of the most common mistakes I see rookie players making. They'll start up a game, and 2 minutes in, switch weapons to something else. A couple of deaths later, and they're back in their character screen swapping up again. Stop doing that. Find yourself 1 or 2 primaries that you really gel with and leave them on. It doesn't matter if you pick an auto rifle and a sidearm. Whatever feels right in your hands is the right choice. The range of the weapon you choose is largely unimportant, because the maps in PvP are designed to give everyone a space to fight. Whether you're a scout rifle main or an SMG rusher, there's a place for you to shine. But why is sticking with one loadout so important? Because every weapon in the game has nuances that you'll never understand if you never give yourself the time to learn. How can you expect to commit a recoil pattern to memory if that pattern changes every match? How will you know how fast a weapon draws or how quickly you can swap to your secondary? Doing things like getting a frame-perfect reload cancel takes time and effort to master, and if you die a few times and swap to something else, you're never giving yourself the chance to. When you stick with the same thing, eventually you're going to learn where and how you can be the most effective. You're going to know the ins and outs of the weapon like the back of your hand. Subtle things like aiming slightly high on targets that are far away, or whatever it is for the gun you happen to choose. I see very few people buckling down like this, but it's one of the fastest ways to improve your game in the Crucible. A lot of Guardians just rush blindly from engagement to engagement with no plan of what they're doing next. When an enemy crosses their path, they get gunned down because they couldn't get their crosshair on target fast enough. I see this all the time, which is why my next tip is slow down and aim. If you find yourself sprinting to the fight, only to be immediately looking at your ghost, this is the tip to pay attention to, and it's especially important for my homies that play the game on console. On PC, if our crosshair is out of position, we can flick to the enemy in a split second. We may not be accurate when we get there, but we can do it. Controller players just don't have that luxury. To stand any chance of winning a gunfight, your reticle has to be kinda close to where your target is. For that reason, having a plan of what you're doing next is more important for you than it is for anyone. You need to be checking the radar, watching teammates, and listening for sound cues to tell you where the enemy will come from next. For most people, this is a lot of information to digest on a second-to-second basis. Sprinting into a fight means you're probably not going to be ready when the other team engages you. Slow it down. Where's the fire, Chief? You got a hot date on the B flag? A lot of times, taking 1 or 2 seconds to survey the situation before you aggress can be the difference between life and death. For my controller guys, use that time to get your crosshair at head level and be ready to fire your primary. If you play on mouse and keyboard, get your mouse centered before you engage, because you have no idea when you'll need to quick 180. When you get into a gunfight, focus deliberately on getting headshots. Even if it means you'll lose the fight, pay attention to the recoil pattern, to the kick, to the flinch you receive, and try to land those criticals. I promise if you do this over and over again, you'll learn everything there is to know about the gun in your hands. Only by slowing down can you notice how one weapon archetype affects you versus another. It's the only way you'll learn how far and what direction you need to pull the thumbstick or mouse to stay on target. And if you followed my previous tip, every gunfight, win or lose, will be cementing this weapon's nuances into your muscle memory. If you're getting value out of this, press the like button to help me move to full-time content creation by 2022. Over time, your game sense will be honed in and you'll just know what to do. You'll know what you're facing and how to fight it, because in the past you'll have failed. But, most importantly, you'll know why you died, and that's why slowing down is the key. But when your aim is on point, what next? What happens when you get someone low and they duck behind cover? In that situation, it's time to use an ability, which brings me to my next tip: learn the grenade trajectory. At first glance, this might not seem that important, but grenades are the way we prime enemies to start engagements or finish off a target who's trying to escape. They're a vital tool in your kit, and are actually one of the easiest things to burn into your muscle memory. You can do this in PvE, in Gambit, or in any Crucible game. But by far the easiest way to learn grenades is to grab some buddies, load up a private match, and put it on Mayhem. This is going to give you nearly instant recharge on all your abilities, and for an hour or so a day, I recommend you chuck nades at each other from every angle you can possibly think of. Not only is this fun, but the more you do it, the easier it'll be to land those hits in a real-world setting. This is something I started doing back in Halo 2, and all these years later, I still get messages from my high school buddies telling me how much that training paid off. This is one of the smartest and easiest things you can do to improve your lethality in PvP. Pinpoint grenade accuracy means once their health gets low, the enemy has almost no chance of escaping. Even if they duck behind cover, you're coming for them. And understanding exactly where your crosshair needs to be when you throw is going to net you many a kill you wouldn't otherwise have gotten. If they do get away, and you end up getting got in the process, one of the least helpful things you can do is lose your cool. Quite literally, it will ruin your aim, which is why my final tip is stop getting mad. Destiny is a diverse and complicated game that plays unlike any other shooter on the market. If you've never spent time to actively improve your habits, you have little to no chance of doing well. You can't be mad at yourself or the game for that. All you can do is focus on trying to do better. Most people aren't jumping into the Crucible at an S tier level, which means you need to stay positive and have a growth mindset. Every death is a learning experience. Pay attention to the weapon that killed you, the actions of your enemy, the way you handled yourself, and what's going on around you. Breaking a controller isn't going to help you win a gunfight, but if you're open to understanding why you lost, you'll be better prepared for the next one. Try to take emotions out of the equation. If you're someone who swears a lot when you die, changing the words you say can help keep you calm. Instead of saying "F you," say "good shots," assess why you died, and move on. There are going to be a lot of wins and losses along the way, so bro, don't get caught up in a spiral of negativity. If you're already doing the fundamentals I covered earlier, over time it'll be easier to read why each engagement ended the way it did. When you get to that point, it's time to focus on what weapons you can learn to make you the most competitive. And if you want to see a list of the most overpowered weapons in the Crucible, all you gotta do is click the card on the right. Thanks for watching. I am Moonchild of Dude No Way, and I will see you in the next video.